Hey everyone, and welcome to video 1 of my tutorial series for my December Fun Fold class. As you probably know, or hopefully know from those of you who've done my video classes before, I tend to do 3 videos, one for each card. I think that's probably easier for a lot of people so that you don't have to scroll through 3 different videos to find what you're actually after. Just check my volume is okay. Yep, seems to be okay. Okay, so yes, as 3 different videos, so you'll get 3 links to the 3 separate videos for your, so you can pop your little cards together. I'm going to start with this card here today. This this fun fold is a, oh gosh, I knew I'd forget it for the video. It's I think it's a double point card, I think they call it, but it's quite unusual. I quite like it as a design. This is the sample here, and you can see I've used white cardstock in the sample, then changed my mind and actually provided everybody very vanilla cardstock in their sets, only because I think it goes nicer with the gold after I saw it up against the white. As probably from the advertising you realise that you hopefully realise that to make these cards you'll need your own sentiments and your own adhesives, but I will show you the stamps that I have used. They are all current stock, so if you like the stamps that I'm using, please just yell out and I will arrange, you can arrange to buy those through me or through my online store. And in the comments after each video, I will put a list of the products and the product numbers that I have used. So you can come back, if you like something in particular, you can come back and order it quite easily. Okay, so we'll start with this as card number 1. You can of course do them in any order, but this will be the video for this little double point card here. Okay, so let's get started. Your kit will look pretty much exactly like this. Have everything in there, and we can start. And I'll just point out the key elements you've got. You've got some gold cord, some gold thread, which is for our bow. You've got some die cuts. Now these die cuts are from the Forever Fern die cut die set. So that's that is the colour with this one is just Jade, and this is our vellum. You've got some jewels. These are the Gilded Gems, which are from the current catalogue. This one here is a die cut from the, I've just got to remind myself of the name, the Forever Gold Specialty die cut paper. So that comes in a series of different leaves and backgrounds and things like that, so it's really quite lovely. And then you've got a couple of pieces of the Designer Series paper. Now this is the Forever Greenery Designer Series paper. And you'll notice that the pieces of cardstock I've given you are folded or scored at the towards the top in one piece and towards the bottom with the other piece. So you can see the orientation of the leaves there. So that's folded at the bottom and that's folded at the top. There is a reason for that, and we'll get to it soon. Then you've got various bits and bobs here. You've got a little sentiment rectangle I've given you for your own sentiment. These 2 die cuts are using the stitched nested labels dies, so they're very handy, good one to have. And then you've got various pieces of cardstock. So as I say, the colour we're using is Just Jade. It's one of our new 2020-21 in colours, and Very Vanilla, which is an old favourite. Okay, so let's get started. So and you'll also notice that this is a portrait card rather than our normal landscape cards, and there is a reason for that, which you'll probably see soon. It actually stops it from toppling over because it is quite a heavy design. Okay, so let's get making. I'm going to keep mine here so I know what I'm doing. Okay, so the best things to start with, we can probably start by putting the 2 of the panels inside our card. So you've got one panel of Just Jade, which is slightly larger than the panel of Very Vanilla. So put those 2 together, grab your glue. It doesn't really matter what glue you use, but I do have to recommend the Tombow Multipurpose, as it is, for someone who's been scrapbooking and card making for many years, it's the best one I have come across. and I'm not just saying that. So the Very Vanilla panel just goes straight on top of the Just Jade, and this is for inside, and then we'll pop it in there. Now, using the stamp set of your choice, you may like to stamp a sentiment inside. I'll just have a check of my original and see if I did. I think I did. Yes, I've put a little happy birthday there. And I'll show you in a second what stamp set I've used for that. Okay, so there we are. So that's the inside done. Now, the outside gets a little bit trickier. And this is the reason with this particular, as some of you know who've done my classes before, I generally do written instructions. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Bless me. I usually do written instructions, but this time I've decided on just videos because with the fun folds, they are a little bit complex. And I sort of feel that it will be easier for you guys if you can actually see them done rather than trying to figure out pictures and my sometimes questionable grammar. So to start this card, take your panel of Very Vanilla, your second one, and your pieces of Designer Series paper. So you've got 2 pieces of Designer Series paper. Just move this stuff out of the way just so it doesn't confuse us. So as I say, your Designer Series paper, if you pop them in the orientation with the leaves pointing upwards or away from you, you'll see one is folded at the bottom or towards the bottom and one is folded towards the top. So the one that's folded towards the top is going to be placed at the top of our Very Vanilla panel, and the one that's folded at the bottom will be placed eventually at the bottom. So that's the easy thing. Folded at the top, it's going at the top. Folded at the bottom, it's going at the bottom. Now, so we still have to do one more thing before we do that. So just pop those aside. What I want you to do is grab the piece of cardstock that you've decided to use, the one that you haven't already popped inside, and grab your trimmer or your guillotine and just take a tiny, 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 tiny piece off. So probably about 1 millimetre, about 1/8 of an inch, not a huge amount. Just take a tiny amount off the top of that piece. Now you might be asking me why I didn't do that before. I sent you the set, and that's only because the 2 pieces of Very Vanilla were exactly the same, and I didn't want to confuse you by saying, you know, by giving you too many measurements. So just this one that we're going to have on the front of our card, just trim 1 millimetre or 1/8 of an inch off it, just to make it slightly shorter. And you'll see why in a minute. So then we're going to bring in our pieces of Designer Series paper. And because we're actually folding them over the edge, you can see why I've said trim a little bit off, because it would, with the layers of paper and the layers of Designer Series paper and the cardstock, it would make it longer than it has to be. And then you wouldn't get your nice border around the edge of your backing layer. So anyway, we'll keep going, and hopefully I haven't confused you too much. So taking your 2 pieces of Designer Series paper, I want you to fold from the score line into the centre. So what I find easier to do is pop your fingernail or your finger just at the score line and then fold the Designer Series paper in. So you're sort of making like an envelope, I suppose, an envelope top, like a triangle at the top. Then the second one, excuse me, now my nose is running. The second one, place your finger on that point, and then fold this one in as well. And those 2, because the way I've measured this up, those 2 pieces of cardstock should meet pretty much exactly in the middle there to form a point. And you should still be able to then fold up there. Okay, so you've got your piece of Designer Series paper with the fold that I've put in it, and you are then going to fold it into a point like that. Okay, looks a bit like a sailing ship sail there, like that. So let's grab the other one and we'll do it again. So put your finger at the score line and fold it in. And then the same thing, folding that in as well. And as I say, they should meet pretty much in the middle, and you should still be able to fold that up. So just have a bit of a practice fold with that so it still does fold up. So now you've got two sort of party hat shapes there that we've got. Okay, so we've still got one with the leaves that are heading up, and we've got one where the leaves are heading down, if you can see that there, that orientation. Okay, so let's bring back in our Very Vanilla, and we're going to put the leaves that are heading up at the top, as I mentioned before, like that. So as you can see, why I asked you to chop that little bit off is that now it's that adding that to this Very Vanilla layer has made it quite a bit longer than it was before. Okay, so let's grab some glue, pop it on this little part here, the little rectangular fold tab, and then pop it behind your Very Vanilla, and then fiddle it into place. Hopefully your glue will let you move it around a little bit. Now if you find that I've cut that a little bit long for you, so it's actually, like in this one, it's actually come out the edge a little bit, just grab your trimmer or your scissors and just trim it off slightly, because we want it to be flush with the edge. There we are. Okay, so we're going to do exactly the same thing with the other one, except this is the one that has the leaves pointing up. And really, look, that's a personal preference. If you go, oh, I don't really care about that too much, I don't care the orientation of my leaves, then that's totally fine. Or if you have paper that doesn't, you know, later on when you're making another one, if you have paper that doesn't have a particular orientation, then you don't have to be that specific. So we're just gluing this one in. I must have cut that one a better size, and just making sure that they both curl, fold down and fold flat. So I might bring my bone folder in, if I can find it. I should have had it out before. And we'll just sharpen that crease. Okay, so that is our points, I suppose you can call it. If we look in our original card, there are our points there. So obviously the next thing we do is then layer this up onto our Just Jade panel. And hopefully now we've got just enough to point, because we shortened that Very Vanilla layer. We've got just enough for a nice little border all the way around, top and bottom, which we do. Okay, so at this stage you could probably bring in your stamp that you're going to pop inside. So if you look at this one, I've used, and I'll show you which one I've used. I used the Forever Fern stamp set, and I've stamped one of the little ferns in the centre there, which would be in here, and then To a Friend That Makes Me Smile in the centre. So we might do that again. Okay, so it's this little leaf here, which I'll pop on a block. And the colour I've used from memory would be, apologies, would be not that one. That pink wouldn't look very nice. It would be Soft Sea Foam, if I can find it. Apologies, I should have had it out, shouldn't I? Here we go. So Soft Sea Foam, it's a lovely soft green, sort of makes beautiful backgrounds and highlights. It's really lovely. So you want to pop that in the centre. So eventually this sentiment is going to be covered by our nested labels. so that's going to go on here. So you want to sort of stamp it here in the centre, so it's a nice little surprise when the card's opened up. Just like that. And then we'll bring in our black ink. I should have had that out as well, shouldn't I? Here's me telling you guys to be prepared with your ink and your stamps, and I'm not myself. And then we'll have To a Friend Who Makes Me Smile. As I say, this is all from the Forever Fern kit, which is set, which is available in the current annual catalogue. I'm just going to pop that just on the top of that little leaf. As I say, the soft sea foam makes a beautiful background design. There we are. So eventually that little design, that little secret sentiment will be tucked in behind there. Let's put the lid on that before we lose the disaster. Okay, so now you've done that, we can pop this whole construction here onto the front of our card. And so as you can see, there is a bit more to this front decoration than you'll normally have with a card, with a normal card, a normal not fun fold card. It's very heavy, and so that's the reason why we make this card a portrait card rather than a landscape card. If you have it as a landscape card, it tends to fall over because it's so front heavy. But with this way, it's got a nice centre of gravity and it works quite well. It won't fall over on when it's on display. Okay, so that's most of the card base done. I might pop that aside for a minute. So bringing in our Just Jade nested label and our Very Vanilla nested label, we're going to start decorating. We might pop those together first. So pop the Very Vanilla smaller one onto the larger one. Just like that. And then we'll bring in all our lovely bits and bobs here. So you've got the gold leaf, and then you've got your vellum. So it depends what sort of emphasis you would like as to what you bring forward. So if you like the gold, you can bring that forward. If you like the look of the vellum, you can bring that forward instead. And we pop our green one. So you're just forming like a spray bouquet of these beautiful leaves. So I'm going to put the vellum towards the back because I just adore the gold. I love the vellum too, but more of a background. Then I'll pop the gold on, and then the Just Jade. So I'm going to put them on that way. So I find the best way to deal with these very fine sprays or very fine laser cut gold pieces is to just put them on with a glue dot. Because they are so fine, you tend to, if you put glue on, you tend to get glue everywhere. So what I'm going to do is just pop a tiny bit of glue, get that out of the way, tiny bits of glue on the back of our vellum leaves, and just sort of around the centre because it is going to overlap the edge. I mean, and let's face it, that's the look we're really going for. So just pop some glue on the central pieces and position that where you'd like it. It won't take much to stick, she says, as it comes off on her finger. It's very light, so it will stick to the stickiest thing around. Then I'm going to grab my glue dots, and as I say, all these adhesives, the glues, the everything I've used today, the dye, the inks, they're all available from me. Pop the glue dot on the back of our beautiful gold. I'm going to probably put a couple. And then just use that to secure that gold. There we are. Then I'm going to just, again, with a little bit of glue, just on some selected areas, just on the back of our other piece of foliage, which is in the Just Jade. And I added a bit of interest with this card by positioning our foliage in slightly different angle. As you can see, I've got the vellum sort of going sort of that sort of say 7 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Then the gold one is sort of more of a 1 o'clock, you know, sort of more towards a midnight sort of orientation, and the green one is further towards the right. So just to sort of give it a bit of interest, don't put them all on top of each other, I suppose is what I'm saying. Okay, so that's our beautiful little nested labels there. Oh, right way up would be good, Julianne. And now we're going to attach these to the front of our card. So you only want glue on the 2 points of our cardstock here, of our designer series paper. So a bit of glue on the point of that one, and a bit of glue on the point of that one. Oh, my gem's stuck to me. A little bit there, and a little bit there. And just position it with our glue. You can have a bit of a wiggle, as close to straight and as even top and bottom. Oh, apologies. It was only supposed to be glue on the top. I shouldn't glue it on the bottom, because then you can't open it up. Oh gosh. Okay, rewind. I hope you're watching this before you actually plow on ahead, which is probably something I should have done. I only want glue on the top. That's the whole idea of having it open up. So don't put glue on the bottom. It's the joy of making these things live. Okay, and now I've taken it off the bottom instead of the top. Okay, rewind. Please come back for more. I'm not usually this dithery. It's just a bit early in the morning. So a bit of glue just on the top flap. Rewind, just on the top flap, and position your card. Same distance top and bottom, and straight as you can. I'm going to actually bring that one out so I don't accidentally glue it with the remnants of the glue that I had put there. Okay, that's better. So if you find that these little back flaps tend to wibble around a bit, you can actually pop some glue behind them just to keep them from wobbling about. So just pop some glue just in a triangle there, just to secure them down. Hang on, I'll be with you in a minute. Just like that. Just be 2 seconds, somebody's just come to the door. You want to cut that tree?
Oh, where's your cutter? Yeah.
You got your saw?
I've got my saw.
Okay. I'm just doing a video, but I'll you cut it and I'll meet you after I'm finished. Yeah. Yeah, whatever you want, Dad. Okay, so that was my dad. Okay, so now we've got our top and our bottom secured, and our card is practically done. So we've just got to now add our little bow. So we've got our little bow here, just a little piece of gold cord. If you just tie yourself a little bow, just like that. And get a glue dot, which I had here a second ago. And pop it down here, just on sort of roughly where your stems meet, just like that. It's quite pretty. Now we're going to get our sentiment square, our sentiment rectangle. So as I say, I've given you this, but you'll decide which sentiment you want to use. I personally have again used the Forever Fern, and there's this cute little hello here, which fits just nicely in the little sentiment box that I've given you. black ink. And just some black ink, and pop the hello in there. And then we can trim that to size. So on the original, I have actually used one of our banner trimmers to actually make that to size. But with this one, I'm just going to cut it with my scissors. Just cut it to the size of your sentiment, just like that. And with some glue or dimensionals or foam squares, I'll use some foam squares. You can pop that on to that front flap, just like that. Okay, last step, and probably the nicest step, is to pop our bling on. So you've got 3 little gilded gems there, so you can basically choose where you'd like to pop them. I'd have popped one just on our little sentiment there, and another one just below, and the third one I've popped just up here amongst the gold foliage. But as I say, totally up to you. You could even pop one on your actual card there. Maybe I'll do that this time. Pop it up there so it's actually on the card. There we go. Okay, so this card's like really sweet. Actually, say you've got your hello at the front. You've got your to a friend who makes me smile sort of tucked away in the secret little compartment there. And then we can pop a happy birthday or whatever you want on the inside. So I'll show you the happy birthday I've used, and I've used it for all of the other 3 cards as well. This sentiment is from the, I call it the Peaceful Moments stamp set. It's a really nice little, totally, all it's got is sentiments, which is nice, and it's got a fair few of them that you can choose from. And I've just used this happy birthday, which I think is probably one of my favourite happy birthdays. And I'll grab a block and some black ink, and you could pop, you know, some flowers or some foliage or whatever you want on the inside as well. But I'll just pop my happy birthday down the bottom just so it's the same as my example. And there you are, you're done. That's card number 1 of this Fun Fold class, just like that. Okay, so apologies for the delay there. I'll go and sort out my dad and his gardening in my garden. He's actually stealing a branch off one of my trees. I think my mother wants to use it as a Christmas decoration. So there's card number 1. I'll be back shortly with the other 2 videos. Hopefully you enjoy that one. Oh, just one more thing with this card. You just notice how this sort of flips up a little bit, which probably doesn't worry people too much. To stop that happening with the original card, I've actually added some little pieces of fridge magnet or magnet on the back of the nested labels and on there, so they correspond, and that keeps it down. But if it doesn't worry you too much with that sort of dimension happening, then it's entirely up to you, but I quite like it either way. Okay, so that's card number 1. I'll be back shortly with card number 2. I hope you enjoyed that one and you'll give it a go later on as well. Okay, thanks guys.